Hello, one and all, and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. My name is Mitch Pattinson, and as always, we're joined by Ethan Daffy, and he's kissing the badge, as he should, because tonight we are reviewing Carlton v Geelong at the MCG. Final scores with Geelong 11 goals, 975 to Carlton, 21 goals, 12, 138, 63-point win at the MCG, prime time, under the Friday night lights at the home of football. That is a statement. Daffy boy, first things first, how are you? And take me through your initial thoughts right now before we speak into the segment of initial thoughts. But your initial thoughts, what are you thinking?
The pre-initial thoughts. Initial thoughts. Oh, mate, seriously. It was one of the most enjoyable wins. We've had a few enjoyable wins definitely in the past month or so, but there's nothing better when it's party time. You know, those goals, you're piling on the goals, and we said it in the preview. I think we were due for a big one, like a big win. We've had some comfortable wins, like your 6 goals, 5 goals, but putting the foot down against a team that's known for putting the foot down in their prime. So. Bit of a taste of their own medicine. I respect Geelong as a football club, but I think it's a kind of passing of the guard and passing of the torch to the young and upcoming, premiership contenders in Carlton. So it's weird, you were just saying before about the whole premiership odds. It's quite funny, but yeah, it's we've been saying the last couple of weeks, this is just the flick of the switch has been flicked the last couple of weeks, and we're speaking at the right time, I think, for me. I know it's only round 15, but it's that kind of round 15 to 24 is important heading into finals for me, because I feel like, Port Adelaide last year, they were kind of round 6 to about round 16, and then it was just too early. And we weathered the storm early, and now we've got our players back, and selection is going to be the biggest of headaches of all time. There's going to be good players missing out. There's going to be, it's tough. It's tough. We're in a good side, and I'm just proud of these boys. And like you said, it's a bit emotional. There's just something about it. We've been through terrible times, Patto. Like really, not just bad or middle of the road, real bad. Like really, really, really bad days. Watching, bless you, Patto. Real bad times. You know what I mean? It's just a reward for all of us, and a reward for them for sticking fat, the players. Like, that's a lot of the same group there. And you can see in their connection when we're kicking those goals in the last quarter.
Yeah, it's really well put overall. And you mentioned there about the inclusions of next week. Like, we've got Jack Martin and Adam Chera, who are I guess expected to return, but you would think Chera would come straight back into the side. But Jack Martin is a player that we mentioned before we pressed on the episode. He's a player that might have to earn his stripes in the VFL, because right now he's not coming into this side. But whether Vossi would look at it as he is an absolute lock to come back into the side, that's something that we'll find out come the team lineups. But yeah, you mentioned there about the emotional, and like it's emotional, but you look at it and like, I was in the seats, the exact same seats tonight. Like, it's obviously the members' seats, as I was for the. Don't know what round it was, but it was the 2018 game when we lost to the D's by 109 points. And I've never the only game that I've left early was with you for the Dons game last year. That was the only game I've ever left early in my life, and that says a bit of like psychotic help I might actually need to go through to see if I'm actually doing all right in the head, because I've seen a lot of shit losses. But that was one of the games where I was just like sunk into my seat. I'm like, when is this going to end? Yeah, also mention, we also can mention their round 23, 2022 game lost to Collingwood when it was 1 point loss. And I literally sat in my seat for about 40 minutes after the game. Yeah. And that is not an overstatement. That is not an over exaggeration. That is the truth. Like, and it was just like, I was there with my mate Jacob, who I always go to the game with, and we literally didn't speak, I don't reckon. It was actually just like, yeah, the lowest of the low. Like, we've been through a lot in terms of losses, but that was like, and then tonight, having like 63-point win, and we look at it as like you mentioned in the preview episode about a stat where we haven't been favourites ever against Geelong in our lifetime. So 2001 was the last time that we were favourites against the Cats. And I was born in 01. You were born in 02. So in our lifetime, we've never witnessed us being favourites against the Cats. And that's saying something. But tonight we have gone out and we've also broken the streak of the respects game, which is great.
Yes, fantastic.
But also a 63-point win against, I wouldn't say a contender anymore for the premiership, but still a solid side, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's just overall, it's absolutely fantastic. And I think you can obviously both tell that we're extremely excited, but it's more just like overwhelming and emotional because of how actually tonight was a statement of we are actually a premiership contender. We are actually a premiership threat, and people are putting us in a category of.
I know.
And it's like,
it's weird.
It's weird, isn't it?
It's, I don't know. It's this, because when you think, like when you're younger and when your team's shit, you always look at, for me, it's whenever it's on grand final day and you go, fuck, one day, you just don't know the feeling, and we just don't know the feeling. And I think, I've said it the last few weeks, we just got to soak it in. You just never know what's going to happen in the football landscape. I back these boys to be good for the next, period of time. But we just got to enjoy this. We just put the foot down against Geelong on a Friday night. Everyone's watching. Everyone's watching, Patto. How many times in the past did we fail on Friday and Saturday nights?
Yep.
I remember 2018, we had 7 Friday night games because they thought we were turning good. And 2018, we were shit. And I remember, I think we did lose every single one of them.
Yeah.
I think it was 7 or 8, like prime time games, and we're bottom of the ladder. And now we're winning these blockbusters, and I've got texts coming through from people who I haven't spoken to for years going, are you excited, Daf? Are you excited for this? I don't, my Geelong mate I talk about, he messaged me going, gee whiz, like, when those teams who've been through the success, they know what a good team is. Geelong fans, don't they? Really, they know exactly when their team's going to win the premiership or challenge. And when they're saying it about our football club, and Richmond fans, they've been through it. They know it. It's, they know that feeling. We don't. And like you said, it's a weird feeling. But when you get that assurance from those people about it, like my mate said, Jakey boy, he's probably watching this. He watches it a fair bit. He gets around it. But, he messaged me going, gee, like you're looking like you should be excited about this. And it's a premiership tilt this year. So, like you said, I don't really know how to feel. It's like, I'm excited, but I'm like, it's like, my brain's all over the place, Patto.
Yeah. I think a more suitable word, like to explain your feelings, and obviously what all Carlton supporters are feeling, is like euphoria and euphoric, where we are entering a term in our life, like a time in our life where we are now officially a good side. And of course, you have to prove it in finals. But in this point in time, we are it is round 16 next week, and we are second in the premiership odds behind Sydney, who have been the best team all year by a country mile. But we are not far behind that now, because I thought we were a little bit further than what we all kind of thought. But after tonight, we're coming for you, Sydney. We are, and you can kind of think back to 2010 there, the slogan that as we are coming, we are coming. Can you smell what the rock is? Whatever it was, I don't even know what it was in here. But we are finally officially on our way, and we say there's some people that might think they're like, we can't really control what the players do out in the field. Like, we say we in terms of like we are united as a club. Like Carlton is a club where supporters can say we, and of course we don't go out there and control the outcome and stuff. But there's people that might be a little bit like unsure if they can actually say, oh yeah, like we as in supporters love to support the club. But it's like, I mean,
we are the club.
We are the club. We
wouldn't have stable. We wouldn't have the history. We wouldn't have the just that aura Carlton has when it's up and about. Because you
Mm,
look at other teams, I'm not having to go at other teams, but we are filling stadiums week in, week out. Like
mm,
it's that there's something about like aura, I guess it is. And I like what you're saying about the whole we. It is we.
yeah.
Because we would die to play for that team.
Oh,
And those guys are fucking lucky to be out there playing for this football club, right?
yeah.
And the way they're playing is that they're paying, like they're, making the most of their opportunity to play for that jumper. You look at Matt Owies. He's worked his ass off to get and play AFL football consistently. He's a
Mm,
category B rookie, he was. It was a basketballer who had a little bit of talent, worked his ass off from the worst player on the list to a best 22 player.
yeah.
And there's so many more names. You got Chincotto, which is a fantastic story. He was in Geelong, it's VFL, did his knee, didn't think he was going to play footy again, like in terms of the high level. Put on 10 kilos, became a mid at Carlton VFL, gets his gig, plays any role, and now he's kicking goals every week.
Yeah.
Totto's another one. I know he's injured, but there's all storylines. You know what I mean? So when you talk about we and people go, oh, you're not controlling the well, I'll tell you right now, we control a bit of the result. If we went screaming at tackles, balls, and I think they said that in the post-game interview. I forgot who it was just before. But he said there's something about those, like the crowd celebrating big tackles like it's a goal.
Yeah.
That's what the difference is with our football club, Patto. And that starts with us, me, you, people listening, and the members, and just the supporters. Because we talk about members, we've got supporters who aren't members in abundance.
Mm,
It's fantastic to see.
And like even just I mean, I'm sure that you would mention it as well, but like just the spoils and just the
Mm.
small acts in play where the players get around each other in the
Yeah.
small acts. It's very much like Collingwood. We don't want to compare ourselves to Collingwood, but
Yeah.
that's what Collingwood would do. And this is what we've seen this year, where it's like if Nick Newman gets home for a spoil, they get around each other. And like even the small things of Lockie Cowan celebrating his first goal and
Yeah.
showing the passion.
Yeah.
Like there's been talk about whether he's going to return to Tasmania when Tasmania come into the league. Live in the moment right here, right now.
Yep.
And he is a future, like he is a future Carlton leader. He is not leaving the club for mine ever because that shows the passion. Not many players have that. Like always, I mean, like of course all players have it, but to that extent to show that you would bleed for the club.
Yeah.
That out there tonight, like the veins when he was screaming through here, it's something within me that just love this club even more. And I'm not sure if other people kind of feel that, but I've just got a different sort of love for it. And it's just that's why I love always. That's why I love Cowan. That's why I love Cripple when
it's the moments.
It's just the moments, isn't it?
Isn't it? For me, it's like our age group, like our age, we've seen Wiedering, De Koning, Curnow, Mackay, Cripps, Walsh from the start. From the start. We saw Tom De Koning, this skinny, headband, long hair player to evolve into, it's, you know what I mean? Like it's games like this where you go, fuck. I remember when I don't know what year I was in, would have been, 2017, and I was crying out for Harry to play his first game. I remember watching him in the VFL going, this kid's going to be good. And I remember he came in and, he kicked I remember it was against Geelong, actually. His first game, he kicked a goal, and I was like, fuck, this kid's going to be good. Let's just back these guys in. You know what I mean? These kids, we just got to trust it. And it works. It works when you put the time into these guys. And like you said with Cowan, a moment like that, and in 5 years' time, he'll be a 25-year-old playing at Carlton consistently. And you're going, I remember that day when he kicked that goal, that breakout moment. And that's what gets you up and about. Whether it's in the, longer down the track, you talk about Cade Simpson moments, you talk about all those types of moments. It means, you know what I mean? Like you just see a player grow. The satisfaction I take in someone improving is massive. Massive.
Yeah. And like, there's another player that we can even touch on, like to an extent, is like Matt Owies, and like
Oh,
we touch on him as well. But
yeah.
how, like, where you've beautifully said, like where he has come from as a Category B footballer,
Yep.
and around that time when he probably he probably had some judgment
Oh,
within
of
the
course.
club, because he was, I mean, he wasn't like in that sort of spot of the worst player, but let's be real, in terms of list and the
Yeah.
pay, he
Yeah.
was probably one of the worst players on the list,
Yeah.
and that's just
No.
how the system works.
Yeah.
But for him to also through the shit times as well. Like, so
Mm.
he got drafted 2019, I think it was, and that was obviously through that shit time in the
Yeah. Yeah.
and that was all obviously through like the like probably Brendan Bolton through that
Yeah.
coaching, and then Teague, and then obviously straight after that into Voss. Like, there's a lot of
Mm.
changes that goes within the club, and for like a Category B rookie to kind of witness that from coming from another sport in a very high level to
Yeah.
AFL, and kind of risking your career to
Mm.
change, and for him to go out there and kick 3 goals tonight, prime time footy in front of one of the best teams in the modern era, that shows why he pretty much shows what all Carlton supporters, the emotion every single
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
And that's why we love players like Matt Owie so much. So let's now move into the initial thoughts, Daft Boy. And I just think we'll touch on. So I'll touch on a few things before I throw to you, Daffy Boy. But just a few dot points, and then I'll get you to I guess explain your thoughts of what you're thinking right now. But we are officially Premiership contenders, which is unbelievable to think about. One of our most mature performances since the 2015 rebuild, arguably. I'm not too sure if that I'm not saying that is a statement. Like, I'm not saying that is the most mature performance, but in my opinion, I think it has
Yeah.
to be up there in terms of the 4 quarter performance. I know that the third quarter wasn't overly great, but against the Cats, that proves that is a very good win. Midfield dominance as well. The midfield were killing it. Like players like Jai Clark coming up against Cripper,
Yeah.
that really does prove it. And then of course we are a game clear of third. I don't know why I put second there, but a game clear of third, which is obviously Collingwood, third on the ladder right now. And then we are obviously two games behind first, which is obviously Sydney Swans at the top of the ladder. But Dave Boyd, take me through your initial thoughts right now. I know that we've touched on a few things already in the episode, but your overall initial thoughts. If you do have anything else to add before we move on to some segments, what are your thoughts?
Well, initially, in terms of that third quarter, if we turn it on, if we kick straight in that quarter, it could have been a 80, 90 type win, I think. But they were never in that. They were never coming back. I don't think. Like, you just knew that we were going to split. I'm loving these flick of the switch in the last quarter to the fifth gear or the sixth gear, whatever it is. The Carlton gear, I'm going to call it, because they've done it week in, week out. I'm going to trust them to just finish off the game. We're fitter than these teams. They're tired. Like, we worked harder than them all game, and we're still running until last minute. You know what I mean? Like, it's the difference we're having. And I'll say it again with Andrew Russell. Give him his fucking kudos. Honestly, we talk about him when there's injuries. I want some positivity heading his way, because he's got these guys cherry ripe. He's got Sam Walsh cherry ripe and ready to go. From a back issue, we thought, gee, he could be in trouble. He's played every week since round 5 at a very high level, and tonight was probably almost his best game. But yeah, in terms of your points, mature, yeah, it probably is. Probably is the most mature performance in terms of we showed our complete dominance over a side that's in the 8. Like the levels in terms of personnel, the levels in terms of talent, the will to win. It was just, the gap was massive. And it just shows that I think that loss to them was a bit of a write-off, to be honest. Like, it was a game where we had 20 more inside 50s. They kicked straight. You know, it was just one of those games, wasn't it? And that tonight proved the real deal. Like, if you win by 60, you've got the upper hand over a side like that. So, yeah, for me, it's just fantastic. And obviously a game ahead of those, I won't name them, but Those guys in third place who I'm not sure how they're third, but we'll move on from that.
And then obviously we are fourth. And then obviously the fourth team is Essendon, and they're half a game behind Collingwood. So obviously Collingwood have the bye this week, so we are confirmed to be a game ahead of Collingwood. But obviously Essendon are having a game this week, and I don't know who they're versing actually. I'll check. Who?
West Coast.
West. Oh, okay. So that's probably a win.
Well, Oscar Allen's back. Oscar Allen's back. Him and Jake Waterman. Oh,
Marvel Stadium.
Oh, I'm sniffing it. I'm smelling it, Patto. I'm seriously.
Yeah.
Look, Waterman and Allen came fifth in the Coleman last year, and Waterman's in the top 4 this year.
Yeah.
Pretty good forward line.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like especially with where they are right now at this point in time. But Daf Boy, let's move on to some segments, mate. And the first player to the people watching on YouTube, Daf Boy just he's put a bit of a crown on for the, of course, the king, as Daffy Boy just said, it's Tom De Koning. And it's quite unbelievable. Like, you probably can tell in my voice right now, I'm lost for words of where this guy's come. Like, we obviously were very invested into this club probably 4 years ago when we started this podcast, but we both were very much invested before that. And I'm sure you probably the same as me. 2017 was probably one of our first years with us actually being invested so much into our players, who we draft, all that. Tom De Koning was the first player that I really do remember that I was like, this guy's going to be a player. And the past few weeks with him being that sole ruckman, I think each game keeps getting better. I don't know which game is his statement game, because I think every single week it's a different statement. And it proves tonight that, now this might be a bit of an outlandish call, but he is the second best ruckman in the competition right now in terms of form. If not, he is the best ruckman in the competition right now. Obviously, we are talking about Max Gawn, who might be that number one ruckman in the competition, and there's no argument about that.
Yeah.
But Tom De Koning, the way he plays, it is very much Max Gawn-like. But if you do remember a guy from West Coast Eagles called Nick Natanui, it is very much like that, if not even
he's better
in terms of disposals. So Tom De Koning, 25 disposals, 34 hitouts, 6 tackles as a ruckman, 400 meters gained, and also a goal. And he almost got another goal that was right in front of me. He kicked it. The curve on that ball was unbelievable.
I know. That was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. And then Tom Stewart was right on the line, and then he just touched it. But the curve on that, I was right behind that. So I had the perfect angle. It was going towards a bloody point post. And it just curved back like a bloody, like a Patto banana, but it was pretty much Patto's banana is the other way if I could go the other way. So, Daft Boy, take me through Tom De Koning's performance. I mean, I've obviously written there, unbelievable, but I'm sure you've got a lot more, I guess, in-depth words than that. What are your thoughts on Tom De Koning?
Where do I start, Patto? He's we knew he had it in him. We knew he had it in him. That's never been an issue for us. But yeah, you know, before I just found out that it was the highest rated game by not just a Carlton player, by an AFL player this year. Fox Footy said, this year, every single player in any game. That's just unbelievable for him. And gee, he's really keeping Pitto at the side, isn't he? I've got a feeling he might come in next week, Pittonet, or Toby Nankervis, but that'll be another conversation because he just matches up well on him. But TDK, seriously, Patto, I don't know what to say anymore. We're just pulling out these A-grade superstars out of our arse at the moment. It's, you got to hit, I'd say, our A-grade, like proper A 5-star. You'd go TDK, right? Cripps, Walsh. And you got Charlie Curto, Harry Mackay, Wiedering. It's about 6-7 blokes that are just so far the class above, it's not even funny. And it's not even funny. And they're all drafted. They're all drafted players. Like, it's pretty unbelievable. Like, a lot of clubs, we do it as well. We've got some talent from other clubs through the trade period, but people say, "Oh, Carlton just buy fucking premierships." Well, they're our own homegrown players. So shout out to Tommy. He's doing his thing, and I did like him throwing the ball at his brother at quarter time.
Yeah.
Which started the Varney, but credit to Sammy. He played in the ruck, which is unbelievable. Actually, he played all right too. It's an interesting watch for them because there's been a little bit, the whole talk with Conway and Stanley and their kind of positions in the side at the moment. But I thought Blixarves was actually going to start in the ruck, and then I saw Sam De Koning. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? But TDK's too good for his little bro.
Yeah, well, that was the first thing when the opening bounce happened. That was the first thing that went through my mind, and that was the first thing that I was going to try and mention and try and remember on this podcast. Because what's your overall thoughts on that? Because I think the reason why the Cats were dominated in the midfield was because of the dominance of Tom De Koning. And if they, but I don't think Reece Stanley or Toby Conway would have done much better anyway.
No.
So Geelong need, we don't know, but my opinion right now is I think Geelong need to invest immensely into a ruckman or
Yeah.
sort out what they're going to do with Toby Conway because obviously Reece Stanley isn't the future.
Yeah.
So
No.
if they want to try and put SDK as the ruckman, that's fine because as you said, he has played a handful of games, if not even less than that, in the ruck.
Mm.
And he hasn't played a game as a sole ruckman. And let's be real, he was probably 80% ruck and Bleak Sales was 20%. So we all thought that Bleak Sales would be I guess, the 90% ruck and maybe an SDK would chip in as that second ruck. But Shannon Neal was omitted as well. So it's another thing where it's like he was omitted. He probably could have chipped in as that second ruck if Blixarves was that number one ruck. But Blixarves went to Cripper and SDK got dominated, as you said, by his older brother. That is, I don't know if that's something that Chris Scott was kind of like wanting to try and get under our skin a little bit of like the mental game of, brother v brother, who's going to try and win and maybe hope that SDK gets over the line. But he's not a ruckman. And if you want to try and put him in there against a genuine, one of the best ruckman competition in a primetime game, I don't know what the thinking process was. So what's your overall thoughts on their selection? And if you thought if it was the right call, because there might not have been many other options.
Yeah, I just think they're in a position where they just probably had to try something. But for me, you look at Conway, what is he? He's enormous. What is he, 21, 20? Just play him. What do you got to lose? I know you said if they played Conway or not, it wouldn't have been a difference. But you may as well play him. For a Geelong development point of view, like, we're better than them. You're probably going to lose the game anyway. But yeah, it was interesting. Like Tom actually said in his post game, he couldn't believe Sam was in the ruck for the first bounce. He was actually caught off guard. They weren't ready for it. So maybe that's like you said. Maybe they're trying to catch him off guard, but really, really, and then they put Blixarves on Cripps. That's just disrespect to that. Like, I know Blixarves has been a good, player over the years. He plays every position on the, and everyone reminds us 400 times that he plays every position on the ground. But the position he played tonight, he got absolutely fucking annihilated by the Brownlow medalists. So it's, they're in a real sticky position. I know this is not Cats chat, but they're in a real sticky position. They got Essendon at the G next week. They're going to lose that. They're going to drop that game. There's no doubt in my mind they're dropping that game. If Essendon keep playing the way they do. Oh, and then they got Hawthorn. Oh, Jesus. They got North in Tassie. It's always a danger game. The season's slipping away, but, what can you say? They've been great for too long, Patto. I think it's probably time to, head off into the wilderness for a couple of years.
It's actually a really good way to put it. But I need a yes or no from you right here, right now. Quite unfair, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Geelong to make the finals, yes or no?
No.
Okay. I
I
completely agree. Seriously, I think
think it's like we said, the comp is pissing me off. I don't know who's good, who's bad.
yeah,
So you know what I mean? Like Geelong will pull out a 50-point win next week against Essendon, and then Essendon will drop a game to fucking North Melbourne. You know, like it's too hard to that final few weeks is going to be very interesting. Like Melbourne win tomorrow, right, against North, they'll be on the same wins as Geelong.
yeah, that's crazy.
And people are talking about Melbourne season over. You know what I mean? Like we're calling these teams seasons over, and all of a sudden they're in the eight. You know what I mean? So it's so tight, but it's just mediocre from about even like Collingwood are not that far off outside of the eight. You know what I mean? It's that's why I'm liking our game style at the moment. Just game ahead, get away from the shit cunts at the back. Sorry for dropping the C bomb.
But I think it's another point as to what I was saying earlier in terms of the statement win. That proves that Sydney and Carlton are the best two teams in the competition right now, and there's no question about it.
Yeah.
But I just went through the ladder then, the ladder then, and it's so Brisbane 26 points, Hawthorn 28, Melbourne 28, Suns 28, Dogs 28, Fremantle 30, Cats 32, Port 32, Giants 32, and Dons, who are on 34 in fourth position. That is a tight race. But as we've mentioned a few times, and I think Matthew Lloyd mentioned it one time on one of the shows, and like the finals race and the ladder right now, the depth and the overall quality of the teams right now, it's not high. It's not high at all. Like North Melbourne they probably should have beaten the Pies last week.
Yeah,
and we all know that the Pies, like, they're a freak of nature where they can always come back. It doesn't matter. But they're 54 points down. You can't tell me that that's their plan going into the game to be 54 points down. And if it is, that is ridiculous.
Against North.
Against North. And it's because it will come back to bite them in the bum.
They play like that, yeah.
If they play like that.
Yeah.
Because it's North Melbourne. Like, it's not like it's Hawthorn, who are a team that's on the rise and are ready to really make that jump towards the eight. Like, it's North Melbourne, where 3 weeks ago we were speaking about when this team is going to get over there, like when they're going to try and get beyond their rebuild. And then we were trying to compare them to us in 2015. And they almost beat the reigning premiers. Make that make sense. Like, that's unbelievable. So, but I'm gonna try my best to try and stick to the performance tonight, because I think it's definitely warranted. But I'm just going to ask you a question, David Boy, and obviously we've touched on it a few times throughout the episode, and it's about, I guess, the most complete performance overall, and if it is that. So first quarter, 5 goals we scored. Second quarter, 6 goals we scored. Third quarter, 1 goal, which is okay. We as you mentioned, we probably should have executed a little bit more anyway. And last quarter, 9 goals we scored. So the question is, what do you think heading into finals? Do you think this is a common theme of us scoring 138 points? Because that is unbelievable for us to score that high against, once again, one of the teams who should be around that finals race. What are your overall thoughts on the game tonight, and if that might be a normality moving forward for us to score 138 points? Because I'm not too sure what we scored last week, but against the Dons, but I think we scored quite high as well. So what's your overall thoughts on that? And if you think the game plan has been tweaked a little bit the past probably month or two to try and be more attacking, because we are conceding probably a little bit more than what I'm sure Vossi would want, but it doesn't matter because we're scoring 140 points on the other way.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to explain. I just think it's us getting into our kind of best football at the moment. I just think it's, like you said, with the conceding, like, I'm not too worried. Like, you talk about some of their goals where, Stengel threw that ball at half forward or whatever. Like they missed, there was a few cheapy shit goals they were getting, but yeah, I think it's one of our most complete performances in terms of dominance, probably from the start, where you go, gee, we're up by 5 goals early. The game's probably over, but yeah, we kicked 1 goal 6 in the third, which was frustrating, and obviously everyone's probably going, "Oh no, we're letting them back in the game," but yeah, we were. It's the perfect performance. It is perfect because that's what we asked for. I asked for a bit of fun at the G. I asked for a game like that where we beat a team that's good, like by that much. We beat North this year by 57. We beat Geelong by 63. That's the difference for me, the stark difference of the way we're playing footy at the moment. And for me, I just think we've played this season perfectly at the moment. We dropped some games. Everyone will talk about Adelaide and blah, blah, blah. But we probably did need a little bit of a kick up the arse in those games. Those ones, the Collingwood one, our review was quite, negative about that game. But you look back at those moments, and I know they always say it, the learnings, the coach always says the learnings from the game, but they are. And the way we've bounced back this year from media saying something, after we lose to Collingwood, and there's a little talk, and they're on our back, they're about to hop on our back, we deliver with a win, and they go, okay, this team's real deal. And that's where I kind of get that knowledge of the team that's good, where the pressure's about to come on them, and they beat them. Pressure's about to come on them, they go to Port Adelaide and beat Port Adelaide. Essendon, Essendon beat Essendon by 5 goals. And this game, everyone's going, Dangerfield's back, blah, blah, blah. Can they win this game? They beat Carlton last time, beat them by 60 points. And do not even put a question mark to this performance. You know what I mean? Like, you're not beating them by 10 points and scraping over the line. We're beating them by 63 points, and we are a far better team than they are. And we have to admit that.
Yeah, because there was one of the one of the media one of the media stations that brought out a post, and it was about tonight, where if we could actually win that game, because it was probably maybe, I don't know if it was our biggest test, but it was one of those tests where we've played a good bracket of games. But tonight it's prime time, like coming off the bye.
Yeah.
Can you execute prime time footy against, we've mentioned a few times, the best team in the modern era?
Yep.
And you exaggerated then perfectly, 63 points. I think 20 points would have still been great, but we got a 10-goal win.
Yes.
That's another thing where it's like, it's unbelievable. But another stat, also for tonight, Geelong did not lead the game at all tonight. So that's another stat where we didn't give him a sniff.
Yeah.
So we kicked the first 3 goals. They kicked the next 2, a little bit nervous about it, but we just kept going. As soon as they got close, we pushed them all away a little bit more. And that's something that we've done.
Yes.
We've kind of gotten close, and they've kind of kicked a few. It didn't even happen against the Cats in round 7 this year. So that's one of the games where it was kind of but we mentioned in the preview, it flipped the other way. It's completely flipped, where now we're starting to head towards that genuine contender. We're on a string of games where we've won a few in a row. Now the Cats question marks are going to the club, where it's like, is this their type of football for the rest of the year? Is this is this a bit of a I guess a dark moment in 2024, and then they're going to rise for the second half of the year? We don't know, but seeing that tonight, and you mentioned then about the pressure in terms of the overall pressure of other the media stations once again putting the pressure on us, but to mention a different type of pressure tonight, the pressure we brought around the footy, something I have never seen before. And can I just say, in that fourth quarter, Geelong did not want any of it.
They didn't.
And can I just say, before I throw it to you, Daffy Boy, I said Ollie Hollands, not Ollie Hollands. Ollie Hollands is the complete opposite of Ollie Henry, actually. Ollie Henry, when he gets just a little bit of, or just a little bit of he is nowhere to be seen. And I'm not going to single out Ollie Henry because he's he's one of my favorite players within Geelong. He really is. But there's a few players there when you put some pressure to them, they shit the bed.
Yeah.
Completely shit the bed. So what's your overall thoughts on that, Duff Boy? In terms of the pressure, but also to touch on I guess the overall, like, if right now this terms of like right now with where we are with Carlton, if this is really like a bit of a second wind for when it's finals time, we can even go to another level come finals time.
I think we can. I think it's unbelievable to say that, but I think we can. But in terms of the pressure, oh my God. For me, this is the way I look at football and the way my brain works when I watch football games, whether it's Carlton or not. Whoever puts the best pressure on early is going to have the mental edge for the 4 quarters of football, right? You put pressure on, they're going to be looking over their early. If you put pressure on early, they're going to be looking over their shoulder all game. They were missing targets when they're on their own, Patto. Brian Myers hasn't missed a target since 2019, and he's missing targets on his own. Why is that? Because he got nailed in a tackle 10 minutes before, and he's going, "Oh fuck, someone's on my ass."
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like someone's always over your shoulder, and it was tonight. To be honest, they were always there. And in terms of the pressure, you're not allowed. You go, "Oh no, they're out," and then you go, "Oh no, they're not." Lockie Cowan just comes out of nowhere. And he's just there, tackling, nails the tackle, ball up, stoppage, beat him at the stoppage, goes down the other end. You know, Ollie Holland's laying tackles on these big men. Like, you can't, and you said it with the tackles inside 50, 22-8. 22. And the best one of the day, the best one of the night was Zach Tui getting done on the ball.
Oh,
Zach Tui, I know we hadn't booed him much in the past, but the boos were a bit louder tonight. Just because of the way he went about his celebrations when we played against them last time. He was grabbing the jumper, pounding, like letting us know that he's club's Geelong now, or even though we gave him a job when he was living in some little town in Ireland, right? You don't be. I remember that stuff. You don't do that shit because it comes back to fucking bite in the ass. When Paddy Cripps is lifting up the cup, he can watch on his couch at home with tears in his eyes because he pounded the chest in round 7. So good on you, Zach. Thanks for giving us a couple of easy goals, mate.
a bit of a shout out to you, Zach. I hope you're watching the episode. Maybe not this one, but I hope you are a fan. I hope you are a fan of the episode. But yeah, no, like it was really well said. It was a few things that you said and that I completely agree with. But like the overall, like I think like the pressure, of course, is great, but you mentioned there about Brian Myers and there hasn't been enough pressure going to these forwards, and I don't know if Geelong have really had that challenge, and that's where it leads into this question. So round 13, the Cats played the Swans. Round 14, they had their bye. Round 15, they're playing against Carlton. Round 13, Geelong had a run where they had 6. I think they kicked the first 6 goals.
5 goals up.
5 goals up, or was it 6?
Yeah, round there, 5, 6.
Yeah. So they obviously had a great start, and they were controlling Sydney. So my question to you is, tonight they obviously they also have more ins tonight as well.
Yeah.
What do you think right now in terms of Geelong? Do you think that's just down to they probably match up a little bit better against Sydney than what they do against Carlton? But also, like, we haven't played Sydney since we had this bit of a relapse, I guess, in the season. What's your overall thoughts on that? Like, am I over exaggerating just a little bit in terms of like, if we play Sydney right now, it's not going to be 52 points.
No
loss. It's not going to be a 52-point loss. It's going to be a hell of a lot closer than that. If not, it might be the other way. But what's your overall thoughts on Geelong, and if I'm kind of reading into it a little bit too much?
Yeah, well, I was watching that game, that Cats Swans game, especially the first half. They threw everything in that first 10 minutes, Geelong, because they knew they had to get the start. And they actually died in the arse, obviously, in the end. They ran out of legs. But in terms of Sydney, they're playing good football, right? Of course. I mean, I want to credit them, but they've had some shaky starts, Patto. and you're not giving us a 5-goal lead in a final. So you're not. They did last year. They did last year, lost by a goal. We're not dropping a game 5-6 goals up, I don't think, really. They'll against Adelaide last week. I know we were 5 goals up against Sydney actually earlier in the year, but it's a different story. It's a different story. I think we play them here at the G, whether it's a prelim or a grand final, whatever. We're 5-6 goals up, Patto. We haven't lost 5-6 goals up this year. I know we tried to against Melbourne, but like in terms of like they've had these bad starts. They're playing shit teams. 5-6 goals down to Adelaide. I know we lost to them as well, but it's the 6 weeks unchanged, Sydney. 6 weeks unchanged. They haven't had an injury block or unavailability. We've had it. We're 2 games behind them. They have had the perfect start to the season in terms of on-field, health, and no pressure. No pressure, Patto. They're rocking up to games. They're top of the ladder. It's like they've got nothing to prove. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, tomorrow's clash will be interesting with the Giants, which I think the Giants are a chance in that game. I just got a feeling they might knock them off.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, they do in terms of our position. But you know what I mean? There's 2 different stories. The Swans have had that there hasn't been the turmoil, there hasn't been the struggle of certain games. Where we've had it. That first 6 weeks, 7 weeks, we were having personnel going in and out every week. And key names too. Chera, Sard, McGovern, Wiedering. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't have Walsh the first 5 weeks, crying out loud, Patto. He's a top 5 mid.
Mm. Yeah, no, I completely agree with what you've said then in terms of come finals time, we have been through the mud with even last year with what we went through last year, halfway through that year, but also this year, once again, like we mentioned again, the Pies game that we obviously the review game was quite negative. We weren't too happy about it. We were kind of over that whole thing. With the trust kind of going out the window. We weren't too sure what we were expecting each week, but Sydney haven't had that.
No.
So come finals time, if Sydney kind of head into finals with maybe 22-1, they won't be 22-1. I mean, they will be, but they might be 20-3.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Heading into that sort of bracket,
they'll be hunted.
Yeah. Because they haven't been tested like I reckon we have. I think you mentioned it in the previous episode as well. I think every week it seems like we're playing against a good opposition.
Yeah.
Every week, and next week, once again, we're playing against Richmond. They're kind of ordinary right now. But the past few weeks, I know that they lost to Hawthorn, but they've been better than what they were through the year. And I know that we're probably going to beat them by 140 points. That's fine. We're going to touch on that in the preview. So Daffy's gone off the screen. But we had that test already, and we're kind of coming on. I mean, we're hoping that we're coming on the other side of it. But you said it perfectly then. Sydney haven't had that. And that's when sometimes you kind of want to go through that through the season because when it comes to finals, you're prepared for that.
Yeah.
But I think Sydney, that's why I wouldn't. I mean, of course, I would love to be first on the ladder, but if you're first on the ladder, there's just that little bit more pressure when Carlton, if we're second or third, hopefully second, and we get a home qualifying final, we have the exact same advantages as Sydney.
Yeah.
So it's not like we have even more because we get a home qualifying, win that home prelim, we have a granny in Melbourne. Sydney have to travel to Melbourne. Of course, we are talking about a grand final in round 15, but there's a lot more of the season to come. But you kind of have to think about stuff like that where the psychological things of the AFL and professional sport, they haven't experienced that. Like they've lost to Richmond where realistically they shouldn't have lost that game.
Yeah.
They haven't had a test with one of the best sides. And I don't think the best sides in the competition right now haven't played their best against them.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's why I'm interested. I would love to see how Giants play tomorrow because they were one of the premiership contenders through
Yeah,
as well. So that's another. Yeah, I'm intrigued about that game, especially because if Giants can pull their finger out and
mm,
really test the Swans and have that overall, like see how they manage it, push it,
yeah,
test it.
yeah, yeah,
Because Giants are fitter than Geelong. So Geelong pushed them in the first 15 minutes of the first quarter.
yeah.
They couldn't run with them, as you said. So it's a bit of a interesting game for me to see that and be like, how can you manage that? Yep, let's really test you
Yep.
and see how you actually manage it. So, Def Boy, let's now move on to probably the two players, like two standout players tonight, and it's Batman and Robin putting on a show at the MCG. If you don't know who we're talking about, it's Patrick Cripps and Sam Walsh. So Patrick Cripps, 41 disposals, 5 tackles, 14 clearances, 498 meters gained. You look at those stats and yeah, pretty much would expect him to win the Brownlow medal this year, if not be very close to it. Because I think arguably the way that the Brownlow votes work, he might be up there for the 3 votes. But also Sam Walsh, 33 disposals, 5 tackles, 9 clearances, 640 meters gained with 1 goal with a bit of a celebration, Daffy Boy. But your overall thoughts on Batman and Robin tonight, mate? What were your overall thoughts and how good and how privileged? I mean, how lucky are we to see these guys go out there and how privileged they are to represent the club?
Oh, Jesus. I think that was Walsh's best game
Yeah,
this year. I think in terms of impact, he's had his touches every week, but I think his impact tonight was massive around the contest. He was just running through blokes and there's spins around contests and oh god, it just oozes class for me. But yeah, in terms of Cripper's game, 41, Jesus Christ Almighty, 14 clear. That's a Cripper game and a half, isn't it? 14 clearances and his meters gained is 500. At 41 touches, and he only had 500 meters gained, but that's his game, you know, in and under. He's actually broke his most handballs all time Carlton. Most handballs all time Carlton. So he's broken that record, another record broken by the skipper. And yeah, Walsh, he was just fantastic. And seeing them link up is a work of art going forward the ball, Patto.
yeah, no, well said. But overall, like your overall thoughts with obviously next week with like us expecting Adam Cherry to come back into this lineup. Patrick Cripps getting 41 disposals is a freak of nature, and yeah, probably wouldn't expect that every single week from Cripps. But also Sam Walsh having probably his best game of the year. With Adam Cherry coming in next week, and obviously we'll touch on this in the preview episode. We've touched on this a few times, but do you think, for one, he comes straight back in? But also, how do you think this whole overall midfield structure will work out with Adam Cherry coming back in? Because you need to remember you've got George Hewitt there, who's obviously playing a role. You've got Matt Kennedy, who tonight is also very solid. I need
31 touches.
Yeah, how many?
31.
31 touches. That says it all right there.
Yeah.
I didn't know he had that many. I know that I checked around. I think it was halfway through the third quarter, and I think it was up to about 20. So he obviously racked it up. But I mean, once again, like that's another player, Elijah Hollins as well, Lockie Fogarty that can go through there, and also Zach Williams had a few set of bets as well, which I like. But it's a bit of a preview into the preview next week. But what's your overall thoughts on the midfield with Chera coming back, and do you expect these type of performances with Chera coming back?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's very, very interesting with the whole Chera thing. I think he comes in. He comes in, even though I like the midfield mix at the moment, he comes in. It's just going to be interesting with George for me. Because, you know, when Chera was in, he was playing sub a few weeks. So he's been playing well enough, but it's about the mix for me. You know, do you have both George and Kennedy in the side with Chera? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I know it's harsh, but there was weeks there where Hewitt was playing sub. Remember that? There was a few weeks there where he was playing a sub. Just
and Matt Kennedy as well.
Yeah, so both of them. It was one or the other for a few weeks there.
He was the sub heading into the finals, and obviously Ollie Hollins was the sub in finals. But sorry to cut you off, but yeah, I think like it's obviously a point that we have to bring up.
Yeah, Yeah, I think, George was sub for the Collingwood game, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So, it's going to happen. We're just going to have to be harsh with some blokes. So it's going to be interesting, but I think he'll make his way in there, Chera, next week.
Yeah, no, well said. Now, Def Boy, let's now move on to the key stats. There's a few stats there that we've kind of already mentioned tonight, but I just thought that we would go over it once again. And it kind of says there how dominant the midfield was, and it's plus 11 clearances.
Yeah.
That in its own right is unbelievable. So plus 11 clearances, plus 13 stoppages clearances, which is also another right there where it's absolutely great. And as we've mentioned a few times, through the episode already. Tackles inside 50, 22-8. That's unbelievable as well. So we also led the tackles as well, but by quite a few as well. So obviously, if we get more of the footy and we also have more tackles than the opposition, that is another talking point where Geelong obviously wasn't up to the standard in terms of pressure, but they also the effort in a few occasions as well. Like Walsh was
Yeah.
running into an open goal, and Zach Tui was right there, who could have easily smothered it or maybe put some pressure on, but he did not want any of it. So, what's your overall thoughts in terms of the key stats, Staffy Boy? But also a few other stats if you do have some. But how key are these stats heading into the next few weeks in terms of midfield? And you mentioned there about Mark Pitnet also earlier on in the episode, maybe him making a return next week. If we're getting stats like this against one of the best teams in the competition, do we play Pitto next week?
It's Pitto is an interesting conversation. He will play games. He will play games this year at some stage. I think he might play next week. I don't know in terms of the whole Nan curve because he plays really well on him. So it might be a case, but you can't take Tom out of there, can you?
No way.
Unless you rest him.
Yep.
That's the only. That's you know what I mean. Like there will be a game where we just play Pitto instead of TDK, but yeah, it's going to be that's why coaches get paid the big bucks, Patto. But in terms of these stats, I think these stats are massive for finals footy as well. I think clearance work and tackles inside 50 are crucial. I think retaining the ball inside your 50 is massive in football, and the repeat stoppages, Patto, inside 50. You're just going to get a goal out of it. You're going to get scoring opportunities out of it. And when we play a good side, whether it's Sydney in finals or Collingwood in finals, you want to be getting as many opportunities as you can inside 50. Because last year with our finals, you have to take your chances in close games. Whether it was the Melbourne game and the Sydney game, you have to take your chances when you get them. And that third quarter, obviously, we didn't. And what happens? It goes to 27 points. Last quarter, you take your chances, you win by 63 points. So it's a big thing. Tackles inside 50, it's massive, and it's it's a shout out to guys like Elijah Holland's laying tackles. It's guys like he's tackling. Fogarty always a clear performer in that type of area. So yeah, it's fantastic, and obviously there's a lot more stats that are in our favour tonight, but those are the probably clear ones for me.
Yeah, no, well said once again. Now, just before we move on to our bagger of the game, guys, I've just got a question about you about Orazio Fantasia, who obviously tonight was subbed off and obviously was brought on. And then obviously Corey Dern came on as he was the sub. What's your overall thoughts in terms of Orazio Fantasia's performance tonight and moving into the next few weeks? What are your overall thoughts in terms of his game? I know that obviously Jack Martin is expected to come back into some sort of level of football next week, but also Jesse Motlop, who has been forced to stay in the VFL for a few weeks now, and is obviously knocking down the door. I know that we will touch on this in a lot more depth in the preview episode, but just a quick observation, I guess, from your point of view. What's your overall thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know. He's just that kind of player, and he's not going to set the world on fire. We talk about it in the preview. I think the hate for him is too far.
Yeah.
But I think for him to be a consistent player, he has to do more to be in the side consistently. Not having to go with the bloke. He played on the wing a fair bit today. It was up and down the ground, but you got Martin and Motlop in the twos or coming through. I don't really see a spot for him because you look at Jack Martin, he can play high up the ground. It's really depends on the role of Chincotta for me because if he wasn't in the side, I think Fantasia would probably stay, or you could probably bring in Martin and Motlop to the team. You know what I mean? Chincotta has probably made the selection even harder because he's forcing his way into this side through his role playing. So yeah, Fantasia does his thing. But for me, I don't. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. These types of players kind of just I don't know what to say about them sometimes. I don't know. It's a 50-50 ball game, and big games we want guys impacting just a little bit more, just
Yeah.
a little bit more, especially when you had that goal opportunity. Just nail those shots when you have the chance because you're not getting many of them. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the hate, but Jack Martin and Jesse Motlop are pretty handy players to not be playing ones.
And I think that's also another thing where it's like Jack Martin, if he had the opportunity where Arizo Fantasia did tonight, Jack Martin goes back and kicks that.
Yeah, he does.
So I just think that's the
Yeah,
difference in terms of class. And I don't know if that's Arizo Fantasia being not past it, but just not
yeah,
exposed as much to senior footy and feeling a little bit more pressure than what he once did.
yeah,
But
yep,
yeah, I just think Jack Martin would have to come in, and I would expect that to be a straight swap.
yeah, yep,
Maybe Adam Chera comes in for Corey Dern, and maybe Jack Martin would play as a sub. I'm not sure. But it's another conversation for obviously the preview. But you mentioned there about Chincotta, which I love, and he was one of the players that through that first quarter, I was thinking about my votes straight away, and I'm like,
yeah,
oh, Chincotta's playing pretty good. Now,
yeah,
10 touches, 2 goals, 7 tackles for the big Alex Chincotta. And of course, his role tonight was to go straight to Tom Stewart. And I thought he did quite well. So Tom Stewart, obviously 15 touches, 9 kicks, 6 handballs, 5 marks, 7 tackles. And I think he kind of picked it up a little bit in that third quarter. But once again, Chincotta limited his impact in the fourth quarter when the game wasn't really on the line, but
yeah.
it would have been there for the taking if Geelong really pulled their finger out. So what was your overall thoughts on Chincotta tonight with his performance? And did you expect him to go to Stewart straight away?
Yeah, it was an interesting one. I did have a think about it because we were talking about Myers or Stewart, and I was thinking. Remember we said in the preview, we said I think our back six are good enough to get Myers. So I think it was a good call. I know Stewart, he's a great player, Tom Stewart. I'd love him at Carlton. He's just a quality footballer. But he did his thing, and it was from that first contest when the ball went forward and he just got that 50. Get it to ground, force it. Don't make it easy for him. Put the pressure on him. They put him up forward in the last quarter.
Yeah.
Stuart. That for me is the surrender white flag. Like you even saw Tom Stewart. He went forward. He's going, "What am I doing here? Like, what benefits I get? Like, really?
Mm.
That just doesn't make sense to me." But Chicotta, he's kicking goals, Patto. He's kicking goals on the boundary. He's just nice with it, Chicotta. And for me, he'd be a midfielder at some other clubs. He'd be a midfielder, getting 20 odd every week, I reckon. But I reckon there'll be a few clubs looking at him. But I think he'll stay at the Blues just in terms of us giving him that opportunity to play consistent footy. And he's going to be playing next week. He's continues to play a role, whether it's tagging or defending a defender or kicking goals. He's doing it all, Pato. Our man.
Yeah, and I think he would much rather be playing consistent footy for a good club rather than playing consistent footy for the exact same, I guess, pay packet. I'm not too sure for a shitter club. So I think he may as well stay at the Carlton Football Club. But Dash Boy, let's now move on to the highly anticipated bagger of the game votes. For the people who don't know what this is, we go 3, 2, 1. 3 votes, obviously, best player on the ground, 2 votes for the second best player on the ground, and 1 vote for the third best player on the ground, exactly like the Brownlow system and how that all works. And we did a mid-season review last week it was, and we went through the leaderboard. So tune in to hopefully the Premiership review at the end of the year, and we will go through the leaderboard once again at the end of the year, Dave Boy, and we will crown our inaugural bagger of the year. But Dave Boy, let me take me through your bagger of the game votes. There were plenty of players tonight. Who have you got for the 3-2-1?
Yeah, there's plenty of names, but I'll list these three. One vote, Sam Walsh, one vote. I think he's too good not to leave out in that side. You know, Chick Cotter is definitely a absentee in this list for me. That definitely was good enough, played a role, but these three guys are just too good. And the impact they had on the game was massive. Two votes, Patrick Cripps, 41. You can't not be in the votes, can you? 41, you can't not be in the votes. He was dominant once again, in and under. That's the Cripper we love to see. And 3 votes, the highest rated performance of the season, according to Fox Footy. We'll have to fact check that, but I'd imagine they're talking facts. So 3 votes. Tom De Koning. Tom De Koning is my 3 vote getter, and we talked about it in the mid-season review, Patto. He is finding his way up this leaderboard on the Bagger of the Year the last month. He snuck into the top 5 after the Essendon game. I think he's got about 15 or 18 votes. So another 3 from me, and I'd love to know if he got the 3 from you.
Yep. Well, I promise to the viewers we don't tell each other the votes. I promise. But tonight was probably the most obvious one of the year, and I completely agree with you, David Boy. 1 vote Sam Walsh, 2 votes Paddy Cripps, and 3 votes for Tom De Koning. I think if he's the highest rated player on the ground for Fox, from Fox Footy's point of view, but also like overall, yeah, you're saying that like we kind of knew that Tom De Koning was the best player on the ground anyway.
Yeah.
The presence he brought tonight, it's different. Not many ruckmen can do that. Not many rucks can do that, but also not many players can do that in the AFL.
Yeah.
There's probably 10 to 20 names that you can really name, but in terms of ruckman, I think probably the 2 names that you can really really comes to my mind is Max Gawn and this might be a little bit biased, but Tom De Koning. Like to a stretch, like Tom De Koning has come in leaps and bounds, and I'm so glad that he's really started to find his form in senior footy as that sole ruckman. But also, like we've got a guy like Mark Pitnet, where if Vossi decides to give Teddy K a week or 2 off,
yeah,
comes in. That's fine. Like that's something that we haven't even really mentioned tonight, where like we are just so like we have the best depth that we have witnessed in our Carlton lives. Well, in our lives, but Carlton supporter, I don't even know why I said Carlton lives, but in our lives as a Carlton supporter, this is the best depth that we've had, and it's arguably the best depth in the AFL. There's guys like Jack Martin and Adam Chera who would get a game in every single other club in the league, and we are even talking about, do they come in?
Yes.
So that's also another thing. But a player that we haven't even really mentioned tonight, and it's Charlie Curnow. He kicked 5 goals tonight, and he wasn't even featured in the bagger of the game vote. So I don't really know if we have something against Charlie Curnow. I know that we don't, but sorry, Charlie, but you kicked 5 goals. You might need to kick 10 next week, or else you won't be featured in the votes, mate. But Def Boy, of course, that is the last segment of the night. It's 1:45 in the morning. We're both quite tired. We're starting to head to that time of the night where we're high of adrenaline, but we're now just on a plane crash. I don't even know what I'm saying. Yeah, obviously, what you're witnessing right now is a bit of a Patto needs to go to bed. So, definitely before we wrap up the episode, is there anything else you would like to touch on?
Mate, I think it was a great ep. What can you say? It's a fantastic win. I'll be wearing this Carlton jacket everywhere I will be attending this weekend. I think I'll be unfortunately attending Melbourne versus North Melbourne tomorrow night. I wish there was plans tomorrow night where I couldn't go to this game, but unfortunately it's a quiet Saturday. I was asking the boys just make plans, so I can't go to this football game. So I might have to sink 14 CCs before tomorrow night's game to get me through the 4 quarters of footy in a clash that Melbourne will win by 400 points, I reckon, to be honest. They're not going to lose that game. But anyway, let's soak it in, Blue Baggers. We've got the Tigers next week, but make sure you're checking out the KO minis and repeating them on your weekend.
Yep. No, well said. Very well written, boys. So yeah, definitely said it then. Make sure to, I guess, enjoy their overall Friday night. Who knows? You might still be out partying right now, 1:45 in the morning. I know that we're starting to get to that age where we can't really be fucked going out to party anymore. Definitely, I'm not sure about you, mate, but definitely me. I don't mind a quiet night in. But when it comes to when we win the premiership, you will see me come out of retirement, and you'll maybe, who knows, you might even see me at a few clubs, mate. Man, I haven't been featured since pre-COVID. I'm tweeting like I'm bloody 40.
Yeah, I know.
23. I'm 23. But yeah, no, well, it's an exciting time, and I think all the viewers can tell how excited we are, and it's something that we've mentioned a few times tonight. It's euphoric. It's an unknown feeling, but it's a feeling that we're really excited to explore. And heading into the next few weeks and heading into finals, we just can't wait. So to every single Blue Bagger out there, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We are still on the road to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. We are absolutely flying. I think we're up to about 945 or something. I'm not too sure. Don't stat check. What's the saying?
I don't know.
You're starting to enter that.
Falling apart.
Starting to enter that point where it's I think it's stat check. Don't stat check me, but don't fact check me. That's what it is, definitely. That's right. But yeah, but make sure to subscribe on YouTube if you do enjoy our content. We upload a preview and review every single week, so make sure to tune into that if you do enjoy the content, but also get around our podcast platforms. We are on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts as well. So make sure to get around those, but also we are on a few other ones. And get around our socials as well. Make sure to try and follow as many social platforms as possible. We try and post as many times as we can throughout the week. But to you, Daffy boy, and to every single Blue Bagger out there, the Baggers! What's going on with this? The Baggers!